I'm Sally Brice-O'Hara. I'm a Vice Admiral retired from the United States Coast Guard. My Coast Guard career can be directly traced back to the influence of my father. He was a World War II veteran, a gunner's mate in the Navy. He served in both the Atlantic and the Pacific theaters and was very proud of what he had done. My hometown was Annapolis, Maryland. I still live in Annapolis. And so being in the military was something that was very familiar and very well accepted by the families and others that I called friends and acquaintances while I was growing up. I considered the Navy, but quite honestly, when it came to the missions and responsibilities of each of the services that I looked at very carefully, the Coast Guard came out at the top of the list. I was very drawn to the humanitarian, the environmental protection, and other roles that the Coast Guard plays on behalf of our nation. And when I finished my college degree in sociology, I had the opportunity to go into officer candidate school with a 3-year active duty commitment and a 3-year inactive commitment in the Coast Guard Reserve. And that's really all that I expected to do, was fulfill that obligation and have some job skills, some training experiences that I could then take from the Coast Guard to the private sector. Well, guess what? It was a great career, and it was 37 years later that I finally retired from the Coast Guard, and at the time of my retirement, I had been promoted to the rank of Vice Admiral and was the Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, which is the second in command of the entire Coast Guard, and Chief Operating Officer of the Coast Guard. I can't say that I set my sights on being an admiral. Everybody comes to me and says, please tell me how I can be an admiral, and what did you do to make sure that your path through your career would lead you to that? Well, that wasn't why I was serving. I wanted a job that had meaning and where I would feel personally and professionally fulfilled. And as long as the Coast Guard wanted to retain me, I was happy to serve. I can honestly say that there was never a bad day in the Coast Guard. I feel very fortunate and benefited greatly from my time in uniform. The Coast Guard sent me to postgraduate training. I had responsibilities at a very junior stage, and again throughout my career had command opportunities. I served with some of the most stellar men and women. We have top-notch applicants to come into the Coast Guard. They serve with distinction. They're ordinary people who can do extraordinary things. My professional career has been what we call surface operations. I was involved with the small boats, patrol boats, the near-shore missions, and by near-shore, primarily the stations that were land-based that would dispatch boats to do the mission at hand, whether it was saving a life, cleaning up an oil spill, responding to an incident in the port. And we had the area that was out to about 100 miles offshore. I never served on a major cutter. When I came into the Coast Guard, there were several career paths that were still closed to women. So I did not have the opportunity to go to sea. I did not have the opportunity to fly. When I came in, there were very few women in the Coast Guard, so we were something new, we were something different. A lot of people just didn't know how to react to us. And so it was reaching out to men to dialogue, to converse, to deliberate, to make decisions, showing that we women have brain power, we have capacity and capability to make the team stronger, to help with the cohesion of men and women getting along together, being able to deal with a task, get to the objective, get the job done. And I think women tend to bring listening skills, curiosity, consensus building, which are so important to the collaboration and the success of the military. And early on, when men were first learning to work with us, I would point out those traits and those qualities as being some of the most important things that men found very quickly in helping them to do their own jobs better. soon those barriers did fall down, and the Coast Guard quickly became one of the services that offered every opportunity to anybody, male or female. No career path was closed. I went through Officer Candidate School, which at the time was in Yorktown, Virginia. That has since moved to the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut. It's a very distinct program from the cadet 4-year program, but there are some shared facilities and some overlap in some of the training that is undertaken between cadets and officer candidates. Officer Candidate School is a 17-week program, and it leads to commissioning as an ensign and the start of your career. Oh, I think I had about 19 different jobs and lived in various places along the East Coast. I had a tour of duty in Alaska. We lived on Kodiak Island, had a station in Honolulu, Hawaii, that is probably one of my favorite places to have lived. And I had multiple tours back at Coast Guard headquarters in Washington, D.C. Each one was wonderful for the experiences. I don't have any that I would call a bad duty assignment. There were certainly some that I enjoyed more than others. My family is on the East Coast, so I've always liked being in the Washington, D.C. area because I was close to parents and relatives. But I also liked being away from them because of all the things that were new that I was able to experience and enjoy, whether it was the sports or the recreation that went along with a duty assignment in a different location. The sightseeing, the opportunity to meet new people and understand new ways of life, particularly in the Pacific region. When I was in Honolulu, I traveled throughout the Pacific to Guam, to American Samoa, Japan, Thailand, Korea, opportunities that I just never would have had otherwise. One of the assignments that I had when I was a captain in '06, I was the commanding officer of our training center in Cape May, New Jersey. That's our only boot camp. So that's the accession point for all of the men and women who are accessing into the enlisted side of the Coast Guard. I feel that I had a very impactful tour there. I spent 3 years in Cape May. I was able to very significantly enhance the infrastructure with monies that I was able to bring in for building improvements. We did a lot of work on the curriculum to make it as current and effective as possible for our new trainees. And I think we brought a level of professionalism to the company commander cadre that was very distinctive and long overdue in terms of their training methodologies and their ability to inspire passion and pride in the graduates of Training Center Cape May. Boot camp's only 7.5 weeks long. We've packed a lot into it, and we have to make the best use of every minute, but we want to make sure at the end that we are sending fleet-ready apprentices out to their first assignments. And I think we did that very well. Well, I would point to my career and say the sky's the limit. It's a matter of what you set your mind on doing. The military offers you opportunities. I've gotten my postgraduate training from Coast Guard. I've been able to travel. I've been literally around the world in assignments. I have served with some of the most wonderful people that you can imagine, individuals who would do anything for you. I have had the chance to visit places and see things and become a better person as a result of my Coast Guard assignments. And it's very much a matter of pride to put on the uniform and represent my service in professional responsibilities. So every time you get an award, I have a Coast Guard Achievement, Coast Guard Commendation, Military Service, Meritorious Service recognition that is given to me personally, but quite honestly, it's about the team. I could not have any personal award or decoration without the benefit of strong performers who were willing to do their part so that we got to a successful conclusion, a successful outcome of that law enforcement case, of that rescue intervention, of the pollution cleanup, the law enforcement patrol, whatever it was done because of the contributions of the whole, not because of a particular individual.